Hey, hi everyone, how you doing? Thought I'd pop on and talk about the new episode of WandaVision. Yeah, last night's episode. Be careful, there will be spoilers. So let me go ahead and put up my spoilers ahead. So in case you're paying attention, this is Dan, by the way. If you're not following along, just going to get this thing started. I wanted to talk about the new episode. Last night's episode, or this morning's episode, depending on how you look at it, was really, really strange. Um, it was called In Color, and where the first two episodes played off of the first one being the Dick Van Dyke Show, and the second in Live with Lucy, and the second was more Bewitched and sitcoms of the 60s. This one was definitely a sitcom of the 70s and felt like a cross between the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family. The opening song definitely sounded like a Partridge Family opening with WandaVision, and then they had the hexes. They do love those hexes. They're using those hexes a lot. Normally we get them at the end of the episode where it kind of frames into a hexagon, but this hexagons are all over the beginning, but then because of the way the ending is, there's no hexagon at the ending. But this episode started off really good, and we got the 70s thing going on. Wanda is obviously pregnant, and the doctor's there checking it out, and we find out she's basically 4 months along, which is a little surprising since it just happened. And Vision notes that and even talks about how, well, what if it was just last night? So that's kind of interesting that he's recognizing how these weird things are going, but he's trying to roll with it. But it's going to get to be too much for him, I think. He's starting to notice too many weird things. The reality is kind of breaking around him, and that's what we're starting to notice. Now, it plays up this theme. They don't want anybody to know that she's pregnant or the fact that they have powers, so they go out of their way to kind of keep it a secret. But it's getting harder and harder. And this episode, where Agnes was big in the first two episodes, Agnes kind of takes a back seat here. Not completely. She shows up. But Geraldine moves forward, and we know that Geraldine is a made-up name for Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend in the Captain Marvel movie, and of course the character who goes on to become, well, multiple hero names, Captain Marvel being one of them, Photon, Phase. I don't know. She's gone through a lot of names. I know her as Photon and Captain Marvel. And so she has that going on. And she's prominent in this. And at one point comes over and actually has to help with the birth delivery, and kind of sticks around. And there becomes this point. Well, I'm kind of rushing ahead here, but Wanda, as she gets more and more pregnant, every time Vision does something, he turns around and she's bigger and bigger. And there's a scene where she turns and her stomach's gotten so big, she knocks over a bowl of fruit, and Vision super speeds across the room and catches it. Well, that's part of the thing that gets my attention, is that the Vision doesn't have super speed. Where does that come from? He uses it quite a bit in this episode, but the Vision doesn't have super speed. He never had it in any of the Avengers movies, but Pietro does, Wanda's brother, who's dead, and who gets mentioned in this episode. So I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of a hint at maybe he's coming back. Maybe he's part of what she's pulled together to bring Vision back, that he's kind of a combination of her brother and Vision. Not sure. That's an interesting side effect, or an interesting thought, and I'm not sure where that's going to go. But the problem is I don't know where any of this stuff is going. So far, the first two episodes felt like that she was being trapped in this world, And now it doesn't. Now it feels like this is a world she's created and it's complete control of. And we got that a little bit at the end of last episode where she reversed time. We get another moment of that here, but a 70s style with a jump cut. So she says something about how things are getting weird, and Vision starts talking about, yeah, there's something wrong here. There's, and she doesn't seem to like it. And suddenly we jump back to that moment when he first started talking, and he says a completely different set of things that have to do with, oh, we're in uncharted waters here, and everything is fine again. So Vision's breaking through on that, which again makes me really think that he's real, because we're getting another narrative with him in it. Why would we need to follow him if he was just a construct of hers? Something interesting there. Other things that happened, her powers, as she gets contractions and stuff, her powers start to go haywire. She's building a nursery. She puts up a butterfly mobile, and then contraction hits, and she ends up, or the baby starts kicking, and the butterflies come to life and fly off. At one point, the entire kitchen goes crazy during a contraction, and they have to abandon the kitchen. So her powers, it feels like the pregnancy may not be fully under her control, which is interesting, because it's controlling her where she seems to be controlling everything else. So maybe there's something more going on there. The other thing to pay attention to is zone in on it. I have notes that so her powers start going haywire. Herb starts glitching. The neighbor. Vision at first sees him. He's out trimming the hedges, and he walks the dock out. And when he turns around, Herb has taken the trimmer into the cement blocks, or the cinder block bricks for the wall. And when he points it out, he goes, "Oh, yeah, thanks, neighbor." But he doesn't actually stop. And then we meet Herb later. We see Herb again later talking with Agnes, and Agnes is not happy that Geraldine's in the house. It's almost like she can't go in the house with Geraldine there. They can't cross, which makes me wonder if Agnes is known by Sword. If them seeing her would be a problem. So it seems like they can't actually cross paths, so she won't go in the house. And she points out the fact that Geraldine came out of nowhere and doesn't have a home, doesn't have a family. It just kind of appeared. And for her to point that out in this setup where it seems like Agnes knows it's a setup makes it real interesting. And we start getting hints that the people in the village or the town know something's wrong. The doctor talks about how he's supposed to go off to Bermuda, but then he can't. And later on he says, "I don't think we're going to get away because, it's almost impossible to escape small towns." Or Herb is about to tell Vision something about and it sounds like he's going to say, "We're all trapped here," or something. But Agnes stops him. So they know, the other people in the town know that something's wrong. And it looks like, they fear Wanda. At least that's how it comes across. And then the baby is interesting. Wanda wants to name him Tommy. Vision wants to name him Billy after William Shakespeare, and he quotes "all the world's a stage and all of us are merely players" line, and from As You Like It, which is interesting because this is basically the whole show is them on a stage performing. And it turns out when there's two babies, one gets named Tommy, the other gets named Billy, and these of course are Wiccan and Speed's name, the two Wanda's two kids that are part of the comic book universe and who are part of Young Avengers. So it sounds like we are creating 2 more members of the Young Avengers to go with Kate Bishop from Hawkeye and Cassie Lang from Ant-Man, and also Patriot, who's supposed to pop up in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it looks like they are building the Young Avengers. But when the 2 babies are born, Vision walks the doctor out and all that stuff with Herb and them happen. Meanwhile, Wanda starts talking to Geraldine, Monica's character, and points out that Wanda is also a twin. So it's a twin having twins. And she mentions her brother Pietro and then starts singing a Sokovian lullaby. And Monica turns and goes, Pietro, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And you see that just suddenly the real world is there for a minute, and there's a tear going down Wanda's eye. And she's like, why did you say that? What did you say? And Monica starts trying to back out of that. And it's hard to tell if she doesn't know what she said or why she said it, or if she realized she went too far and is trying to back up. I almost think it's the first part, that she's fighting to get control of herself again, and it's not working. Wanda sees the little sword logo as on her pendant and wants to know what that is, because she's seen it on the helicopter, she's seen it on the back of the Beekeeper, and now here it is on her friend's necklace, who just mentioned her dead brother who was killed by Ultron. So we go to the scene outside with Vision, and when we come back in, Wanda's alone with the kids, and when Vision asks what happened to Geraldine, Wanda says, oh, she had to leave. She needed to hurry home, and has this look on her face that's amazingly calm. And then the ratio on the screen changes from 70s sitcom to modern day MCU. And we see Monica flying out of like a barrier that looks like it's a television screen and land into a field, and all of these military types start running up, and good chance this is all sword. And the song Come On Get Happy plays from the Partridge Family, or David Cassidy. And it's just a very eerie moment, like Wanda just threw her out of her reality. We also see that there's a sign for Westview, the town. So it's pretty safe to say that Wanda's actually taken over a real town. And the people inside may be real people that she's suddenly just decided to build her world around. So it starts getting much creepier at this point. Is Wanda manipulating all these people? I mean, at first it kind of felt like maybe they were all constructs of hers. But now it's more like these are real people who have just gotten pulled into this. And where does Agnes play into it? Is Agnes Agatha Harkness? And what's doing this to Wanda? I mean, the voice on the radio kept saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Or what's doing this to you? But is she doing this to herself? And if so, why? Did she have a mental break and suddenly built this reality for her to play in? To protect herself? Is this like a therapy session? Did she go to Agatha Harkness for help, and whatever they did created this little universe? Or is this all a plot by Mephisto or somebody else to force her into... It almost feels like the pregnancy thing isn't her control, while the universe around her is. So it kind of feels like there's multiple forces at play here, and that the pregnancy thing is being forced from outside, while Wanda's trying to create this safe space for herself, and Sword is just trying to figure out what's going on. That's kind of how I'm seeing it play. Is that how it's going to play out? Going to have to wait and see. I mean, we're a third into the season now. We're 3 episodes in of 9. I have a feeling we'll have a couple more sitcom-y episodes, maybe as many as 3 more, because I know we still have the 80s and 90s sitcoms to go through. I don't know if we get into any of the the 2000s sitcoms. I don't even know if they stand out that much that you could play off of the tropes, but we are going to get 2 more things of sitcoms, because I know there's the Roseanne looking one, there's the Full House looking one, so we got those coming up. And if those are the case, then by the end of episode 6 of the latest, I think we will move into more of an MCU style movie type thing, and I think the episodes will start getting longer, and we'll get more action. And what I think right now, we're just traveling through her mind and what's going on, and I think the babies are she's being manipulated into having the children. And that's kind of how the comic went. And the pose I have up on the screen here is actually the cover for the first issue of that miniseries, or was one of the first issues of their series. So I think we're going to go that direction. I think we'll find out that they're somehow Mephisto related, which is who they are in the comic, or something like that. But I have a feeling this is going to get much bigger. Right now it's kind of a small thing, but I think it's going to get much, much bigger. So we'll have to see how that goes from here. There were some very funny moments. That they're keeping up the sitcom trope very well. It feels like a sitcom. Everything they do. The water breaking is the symbol that all the pipes in the house burst. The hiding under the table, the trying to keep the pregnancy hidden with a bowl of fruit, and a swan or a stork walking around the house and her trying to hide it. These are all little neat gadgets that they would do in that era sitcom. Also, some of the opening credits totally felt like a Brady Bunch. Even the house is completely redone to look like the Brady's house. Now, I should mention the commercial. A little different. The first 2 felt like they were going through Wanda's tragedies to me. With the beeping Stark device having to from when she was a kid, and then the Strucker watch having to do with when she got turned into what she is now through the Mind Stone by Strucker. I thought that this one would be more of an Ultron related one, but it was Hydra Soak, a bath thing to find your inner goddess, bath bomb, which ties in interesting to, it kind of reminds me of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode when they were in the framework, and Coulson thought that Hydra was manipulating people through the soap, the blue soap that would give them false memories. So kind of funny there, and there's a blue box for the soap with the Hydra logo on it. So yeah, I'm not sure how that one's going to tie in. Doesn't maybe she got soaked in by Hydra, and maybe the next one will be Ultron related. But I'm starting to wonder if my theory there is going to hold true. That it's just her tragedies played out. Other than that, it's a really fun episode. They even had matte paintings in the background like you would in a sitcom. Just about everything you could think of from a 70s sitcom they did. The cars, the clothing, Vision's hair. Vision's hair looked awesome. The blonde, the total Starsky and Hutch hair. Hutch's hair, David, I can't think of David's name. But yeah, it just totally looked like the hair from Hutch, from Starsky and Hutch. Overall, it was a really fun episode, but there were those creepy moments that, when Herb just kept cutting through the cement wall, or, when they were kind of talking about the things that, that they felt trapped, and or that look on Wanda's face after Geraldine disappeared, it started feeling like a horror movie. And poor Vision might be the one that realizes it, which makes me worried for Vision. And again, how does Pietro play into this now that the kids are there? I know there was a reference when they were casting the kids. the sides got out that they were used to casting, and there was a reference to their uncle being asleep on the couch in the other room. So I'm wondering if we're going to get Pietro soon. Aaron Taylor Johnson could come back, and that would be really cool. I think it'd be neat to see the character. I think he got killed off way too early, and I'd love to see him come back. So if they're bringing characters back to life, he'd be a good character to bring back to life. So I think that's going to be it for me. Oh, hey, Gil. David Soul. Thank you, Gil. Thank you. Oh, it looks like I got the Facebook. The hexagons, I'm thinking that it might have to do with her power is always called a hex power. So it might be a reference to that. It might also be reference to AIM. AIM uses a hexagon in their logo, but other than that, there's not a clear-cut thing that jumps out to me that, oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. But yeah, it's not sure about the hexagons. But they're definitely prominent, especially in this episode. Like I said, we get them in the beginning here. We got them in the ends of the other two episodes. So it'll be interesting to see how they play out and what they're going to do. Gil's listening while driving home. Thank you, Gil. And so it looks like I got the Facebook comments worked out. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you, both John and Gil, for posting. So, okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Feel free to add your comments about what you guys think. If you have any ideas of what the hexagon means, stuff like that. And I will be back for the next episode, and also the next episode of our Pop Go the Writers will be January 31st. We're going to do it bi-weekly to start till we build up an audience. So we'll cover this episode and the next one on that as well with Rosalinda, Dan, and I'm currently trying to find who I'm going to get to be our guest for that night. So hope you all have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.